Hey everyone, welcome back to Chewing the Fat with the Hungry Hussey. I am Matthew Hussey. Welcome. I appreciate you stopping by. Hey, today we have an awesome guest, CMAC from CMAC Cooks. His name is Craig McPherson. He lives up north where it's a little bit cold. He does a lot of cooking on his Big Green Egg. He has an Artie Flame. He does Blackstone cooking, pretty much anything and everything. Craig, I want to say thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out with us. And most of all, let's chew the fat a little bit today. Craig, want to say welcome. Really
Matthew,
excited to have you on the podcast. And you got a pretty cool little background. And let's start at the beginning.
yeah.
I want to talk about like back where your roots came from, right? Early days, were you, what'd you do for a living? What kind of got you interested? Then, how you got started cooking.
Yeah. So, first of all, congratulations on the podcast. Thrilled to be on it. I know
Thank you,
you
sir.
did me a solid a few years ago during the pandemic when I had you on a little podcast, but I did my backyard barbecue, my Riverfest, had to do that virtually, and you said, yeah, I'd love to be on it. So that was a blast. So
That was fun. I
happy to
remember those beef ribs too. They were fantastic.
Well, happy to return the favor and see, where you've come from as well.
Yeah,
But
thank you.
so yeah, as you mentioned, I live up north now. I'm in northern Massachusetts. We were actually on the border
Cool.
of Mass and New Hampshire. Yeah, although last week we had 80 degrees. This morning we were frosted over at about 25 degrees. So it's what they like to say in New England is if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes and
Wait,
you'll get something
just wait.
different.
Yep.
But I am actually a born and raised Californian, born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Left coaster.
Yep,
Left
left
coaster.
coaster. Moved out here about God. It's been 7.5 years. It's been a whirlwind. But
7 years.
my wife's from Massachusetts, so I was itching for a new adventure, and made sense for her to be able to come out here and spend time with her family that's still here, and it's been a great ride.
I
But
didn't know she was from Massachusetts.
yeah, that's yeah. So we didn't really just throw a dart at the dartboard when we were trying to figure out where our next stop was going to be. There was a little bit of method to the madness, and it's just been
Yeah.
great. Live in this little small town called Amesbury, and a lot of great people. And yeah, I also had the fortune to be able to retire early during the pandemic, which kind of led me to this crazy little world of ambassadorships and influencer and all that kind of stuff. Definitely started during the pandemic. I always kind of liked social media, and I've been cooking for years. Had a stint in the restaurant business when I lived in Phoenix, and yeah, I've been grilling and smoking for years and years and years, and that just kind of led to having some fun on social media with it during
Yeah.
a time where none of us could leave the house.
But the let's go back to Riverfest,
Yeah.
right? You said Riverfest. Somebody's probably gonna be like, "What in the world is that?" So you started Riverfest way before Massachusetts, right? You was in California. I saw some pictures of previous Riverfests, right? So
Yes,
what's
20
what's that? What
years.
was that about? That was outdoor cooking at its finest, right there.
Yeah, so it's funny. We started it with a couple of my good buddies. We played basketball in college together. We were roommates, and we would always Sunday dinner at somebody's house. And
Yeah,
this was we were sitting, I don't know, my back, it's one of the backyards 20 years ago, and cooking. And of course, if you're sitting
yeah.
around and cooking and having a couple of drinks, you're talking a lot of what. And my ribs are better than yours, and you can't cook brisket, and that all that kind of stuff. And so we decided that
I
we were going to
see.
start a little friendly backyard competition. And I think the first year, 2004, so 20 years ago, it was
Wow.
maybe three of us and the wives and the kids. And so, what, about 15 years of doing it in California, we kind of outgrew our house size. I like to tell people we had to move to a different state and a bigger house because Riverfest got too big. But yeah, we maxed out at about, I don't know, 110, 120 people in California in our little, you know, postage stamp size yard in the Bay Area. And after we moved out here, I took 1 year off just because we moved in April, and this was traditionally kind of an end of May event.
Okay.
But I didn't know anybody yet, you know, and of course, you know, a big backyard barbecue doesn't do much good, and you know, or a comp if you know you're the one and only guy cooking.
Yep, that's right.
So it didn't take long to kind of find a crew, and now it's grown. So this last then we moved it to the fall. So September we had Riverfest 20. In fact, my three of my boys from back in California actually flew out for it
Nice.
since it was the big year. But we typically get between 10 and 15 teams. I like to say it's, you know, 200 to 300 of our closest friends come
Yep.
over, and you know, we've worked in live music, a kids cook for the last 3 or 4 years. You know, I tie in any of my local events. We tie in nonprofits. So I've been working
Yep.
with a nonprofit called Our Neighbor's Table out
Mm.
here, and they basically are a food bank for the whole North Shore of Massachusetts, and
Okay.
so it's their goal and mantra to eliminate you know, food issues from you know, from this area.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we've been fortunate enough to raise 25, close to $30,000 for them
Yeah.
over the last probably 5 years. Yeah, and it's been a blast. So that is CMAC's Riverfest Barbecue Cook-Off. And one more shout out around that, we've also been fortunate enough, again, since I've started working with different companies, that they've been super great about donating items for not only for the cook teams, but we do raffles, we
Yeah.
do auction, and also do pre-sale of a bunch of eggs that we use for the kids cookout, and all that
Oh,
money that
nice.
we raise, it all goes to Our Neighbor's Table. So
That's cool.
that's Riverfest, baby.
Yeah. I really always enjoy the way you on your social media, you're just kind of you're always just chilling. You might be doing a live riding around Amesbury in your Jeep. You know, it might be snowing. Who knows? You might be making brisket ice cream
Ah,
for
yes.
the ice cream shop, or you're at your little, you know, it's just always pretty cool. You always seem to include the folks that's around there, the small businesses, and that's always really cool. I always want to do that. I never do that, and mainly because I live under a rock, I believe. I don't go anywhere. I got small kids, and I guess that's the reason why. But yeah, I always like the way you include the small businesses. You know, you really try to what I call church them up a little bit and
Yeah.
help them out. So that's always pretty cool.
Well, I'll tell you kind of psychologically where that comes from is I have I've always wanted to open up my own small business. You know, usually a restaurant or bar or something like
Yeah,
that, and never really got the chance. So I always feel the next best thing is to kind of support people that are doing it. And
that's
I'll
good.
tell you, I've had again, this mainly started when I knew business owners back in California when I lived in Arizona and so forth, but it really kind of kicked off here. And I think, you know, moving to a smaller town where it's really easy to meet people,
Yeah,
super easy to get involved from a nonprofit, from a charity perspective. I'm on
right.
a couple of boards and everything. And it again, if I have the ability to retire early, and so although the lazy part of me would love to lay around on the couch all day and just
Yeah,
cook, it's just so fun to get out there and support people that are doing good things and businesses that are doing good things, and because they
yeah,
all give back, and
yeah.
so it's been a fun run.
Yeah, just everybody's looking out for everybody. That's just kind of where I'm at. That's just what it's what you do. You look after your neighbors and that kind of thing. I think it's a pretty cool thing, and I don't
Appreciate
think
that.
I've ever told you specifically, but that's always stood out to me, and I know they appreciate it, and me, I'm like, man, I bet you they do appreciate it. I even appreciate it, and I like that content. It's pretty cool. It's very heartfelt.
Yeah,
So,
I appreciate that, and listen, it brings me a lot of joy.
yep.
And again, it gets me out of the house and out of the wife's hair and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So it's
Well,
been fun.
pretty soon it'll be you'll have your Santa hat on. I'm sure that
Yes.
you do that every once in a while. You're in the Jeep and going around. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Well, we do.
That's
I
cool.
do another event here called SantaCon, which is basically a drunken Santa-themed bar crawl
Uh,
that supports all the breweries and restaurants here in town, and
that's cool.
so that'll be the next one coming up.
Yeah. So CMAC Cooks, right? That's your brand. That's where you could be found and all that. So I'm assuming CMAC was probably back from whenever you played ball. I'm assuming, and then you
Yep.
just kind of paired that. How did that come available or come
Yeah,
out?
old basketball nickname. So yeah, when I was in high school and I started playing basketball, it was I'm 6'10", so
Yeah, I was
I
going
would
to
always.
guess 5'9". Just I didn't know. Yeah.
I'm much shorter on social media, so like I'm sure you've seen this. When you we kind of get to you and I have not had a chance to ever meet. I feel like you're a good friend, and I've known you
Yeah.
since 2018, 19 probably. But there's a lot of folks out there that we haven't had the ability to meet in person.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I got on that tangent. Oh yeah, but so I look a lot shorter on social media, or some of it. So yeah, it was my basketball nickname for a long time growing up was like Mac, because my last name
Mac. Yeah.
McPherson,
Okay.
or
Yep.
Big Mac, and then
Yep.
somewhere in college it kind of turned into CMAC, and I couldn't even tell you who started calling me that first, but
Yeah.
it followed me after school to, when I lived out in Arizona for almost 10
Gotcha.
years, and followed me out here. So,
That's cool. Yep.
most of the people that I know, every once in a while somebody will call me Craig, and I think I'm in trouble. I'm like, or I don't even know that, they don't know me. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, it's one of those things. Nobody calls me by my
Those
name,
dang
Mac,
those dang
C-Mac.
bill collectors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, if I pick up the phone and somebody says Craig, I'm like, yeah, he's
Crap.
not here. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, so I've always wondered. I always thought that too. Did CMAC come from from ball? I mean, of course, me playing ball, we always the nicknames was always there. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
pretty cool. So,
Yep.
well, that's a pretty good little introduction there. I think that builds on it. But going on to our next subject, you know your way around the griddle a little Blackstone cooking, right?
Yeah.
Used to be this thing called the Blackstone Boys. That's kind of where I kind of knew you first.
Yep.
Was it was that flame, the Blackstone flame with BSB
There
hashtag
you
BSB on
there
it.
you go.
So you were part of Blackstone Boys, and I think it's still out there. I don't know if anybody puts any content out there or not anymore. Had a strong following there too. So tell us how the Blackstone Boys, how you kind of got started with that, because it's got a pretty cool story about it as well.
Yeah, yeah. So that was kind of my foray into, I'm not even sure at that point I was calling it, ambassador or influence or anything, but so I had been, after I moved out here to New England, I had been looking at the Blackstones for a little while. I just thought they were kind of cool. I'd never had a griddle before. And I want to say it was Super Bowl day 2017. It was either 17 or 18, but it was a year or two after we moved out here. And as a California guy, the last place that I ever thought I'd be on Super Bowl Sunday before the game was on a frozen lake, helping buddies put a hockey rink together on one of the lakes that we have here in town. And I thought it was just the coolest thing. These guys knew, drilling holes, and they had a bringing the water up to smooth out the ice and everything.
Yeah. It's wild.
And all the kids came and they play. I brought my drone out to get pictures, to get video of it. And all the kids were playing. But the cool thing was my buddy, Dan Ouellette, brought out table and a 22-inch Blackstone and did breakfast sandwiches. And we had some Bloody Marys out there and stuff. And like I said, I'd been looking at them for a little bit.
Yeah.
But after I saw what it could do, I'm like, this is pretty damn cool. I actually ordered my first 22 on Amazon that day on the frozen lake.
Wow.
Got it a couple days later, and that was kind of the start of it. So Dan has been a good friend of mine. Dan and I kind of started the whole BSB thing, along with then a bunch of friends of ours started getting them. I think we're probably up to somewhere 20 Blackstones just here in town with with our group. But we had a blast. We did a couple of cooks. We had a snow day cook that was actually kind of the first BSB kind of kickoff. We were over at one friend's house on a Sunday afternoon, and the storm was coming, and so it looked like it was going to be the first snow day of the year on Monday. And I said, well, listen, if we get that call sometime this afternoon, bring your Blackstones or bring your 22s over. We'll set them up on the deck. We've got a nice sledding hill in the back of our house. I said, come on over. We'll have a blast.
Yeah.
And sure enough, like an hour later, we got that call. Snow day had been called on Monday. It was actually the perfect day because it snowed like all night, and the next day was beautiful. So shoveled off the deck, and I think at that time we probably had maybe 6 Blackstones up on the deck, lined up, overlooking the kids doing their sledding. Everybody brought something different to cook, kind of a lunch brunch cook. And we said, you know what? We got all the boys over. This is the Blackstone Boys. And so I designed a little logo, and we had some shirts and hats made. And, of course, you got to then throw a page on Instagram and whatever else. And so, yeah, we still are out there. We still cook on Blackstones. We've been trying to get kind of relive that cook. We did a year after that. We had a big camping trip, big Amesbury camping trip. I think there were like 40 couples up at Eastern Slopes, which is up in New Hampshire or Maine. Okay. And of course, everybody brings their Blackstones, and we had. I'd have to go back and look. It's on YouTube, but I believe we had 20 or 21 Blackstones lined up. Yeah. And we did or maybe it was, I don't know what the number was. Maybe it was 11. Now I'm thinking about it, maybe it was 11. Anyway, we had all these lined up, and we did the Blackstone burger cook on. So we started a burger on one end, flipped it onto the next one, boom, all the way down. But it was fun, having all these guys together with their guys and gals, by the way, together with the Blackstones. And so we still cook some. That Instagram account, although I don't post a ton on it anymore. I think just having the Blackstone name in your Instagram, I don't post, and I still get I wish I would get the following on CMAC Cooks that I get on Blackstone just organically, because I think people search for Blackstone. They say, the logo looks familiar, and
follow.
Yeah. So I go in there, and I get 40 more followers, and
I remember that. I thought it was 20 some griddles came to mind. I didn't do a whole lot. I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
So you might be right on that 20. I thought 22. I don't know. Maybe that's because of 22-inch griddle.
It was
but
a bunch. I don't know. It's out there now. Now I'm kind of. Now I got to go back and look, but
So for some reason 20 some rings a bell for me, because I remember that. I was like, how does this guy pull all these people? For me, I have a bunch of buddies, but it's like getting people together is like pulling teeth. It's like I my lips are chapped, my feet hurt, and or
I
some
got a
crap.
hangover. I mean,
Yeah, my
hangnail.
got a hangnail, or it's like, come on, dude,
Yeah.
just get your butt out here. And it seems like somehow or another you got like the secret sauce to get to muster the boys up. It's like I don't know if you got like a picture of them that like you're like, hey, look, you remember that picture from
I got
back a long time?
blackmail. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's that
Yeah.
picture. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know, farm animals. I don't know, but I'm just saying. But
Well, we do have plenty of blackmail on each other, and I wish I could take the credit for it. Now, absolutely, I do love having events and getting people together, but I'll tell you what, I was fortunate enough to kind of stumble upon a great group, and part of it was for our kids are similar ages in
yeah,
school and
well,
playing
that helps.
sports and
Yeah,
all that. But this is a group of folks that were already friends, and so I was kind of
yeah,
the outsider coming in, and they allowed me to be part of the group.
yeah,
And these guys, there's not much arm twisting that it takes these guys to want to get together for
yeah.
events, pool parties, or whatever else. So
Yeah, it helps whenever your kids are similar. It's like, well, they kind of entertain themselves, and
yeah,
so it makes it easier for the grown ups. Like, all right, they go off and do their own thing now.
oh
We
yeah,
can do our thing. So
yeah.
yeah, I need to get a hold of more of that.
Well, yeah,
But anyway,
and listen, you and I have talked about this before when I started the whole Blackstone. Well, when Dan and I really started the whole Blackstone Boys thing, and started, I had kind of the background in social media, black background. I liked social media, so it was easy for me to kind of post and everything.
yeah,
It was really before Blackstone really kind of kicked it off, right? I mean, kicked off their team, which you're part of, and they have now, and
yep,
rightfully so. But it was, I mean, Des was brand new on the team pretty much. I still remember when she did her first kind of scheduled live for Blackstone. We
yeah,
actually had about five of our guys again set up on the deck with their Blackstones, and we were simulcasting her live and doing our own
nice.
cook.
Yeah, that's
Um,
nice. Yeah,
but
that's
it was
cool.
yeah, it was CJ, it was Nate, it was Todd, were kind of their three main, and then Des came on. So it was
Yeah,
it was really before, good few years before they really kind of expanded their team to outside those
yeah,
four. So
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I remember those days. She loves doing lives. So
she's
that's one
great
of her
on.
most favorite things. She does a really good job on them. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Any any kind of funny, just something that's like you never would have. It's a saying down here in South. Never thunk it would happen. Never thunk it happened with the Blackstone Boys. Anything kind of funny just kind of happened. Somebody's griddle fell over. I don't know. Burn up. I don't know.
I, I mean, probably too many to list. We did have that
Probably
day
was.
that we were doing our snow cook, our snow day cook. I did have my buddy Ray took a spill. He was carrying his 22, and for some reason, the two steps to get up on our deck, people have a hard time with.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of tripping on that. But he had his 22. I felt really bad because I look over, he's coming up, and he tripped on that last step and went down.
Oh,
And unfortunately, before I could say, "Oh my God, Ray, are you okay?" I bust out laughing, and thank
yeah.
God he was okay. But he saved his Blackstone. His Blackstone didn't go flying. He actually, and his shin and knee took a took
Oh.
a beating, but he saved that 22, and it's still rolling as of today.
Well, they aren't real heavy, but they're not real light either. But they're just kind of cumbersome. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get that, and so
Well,
you can't
especially
really
when you're
see.
holding and you can't see where your feet are going, right?
Yeah, yeah, you can't see
That's
where
the
your feet
main
are
thing. I
going.
think that's what happened with Ray. So Ray, I know we talk about it. I actually, whenever I have an event now, I put a little sign out there with
Watch step,
Ray's name. Watch Ray
raise
steps
step,
here.
raise step.
Ray step.
Watch
Yeah,
that
but
raise step; it'll get you.
exactly. But yeah, there's been plenty of it's one thing about Blackstones, right? Is you learn really quick, or griddles in general. unlike, sitting there smoking a pork butt or beef ribs or
Yeah.
or even grilling, you got to have everything ready. It's generally a fast cook on griddles. So there has been plenty of things burnt on griddles because I forgot the garlic and I got to run inside, and by the time I come out, I forgot to turn the heat down, and
Yep.
so that's
There ain't
one
much
thing
time.
one thing we all learned pretty quick is you got to have all your ingredients, your mise en place, everything's got to
Yep.
be ready. You don't want to be
Yep.
running out, inside the house saying, "Oh, it'll only take me a second," and then, all of a sudden the wife says something, or the kids come
Yeah.
back out, and you got a charred mess on your griddle.
It don't take long for it to get hairy in a heartbeat. I'll tell you
That's
that.
right. That's right.
It don't take long at all.
No.
Well, that's pretty cool. I was always interested how the Blackstone Boys kind of came about, and that's kind of the time whenever I started seeing you and connecting with you, liking, commenting, that kind of thing. So very cool, and I bet you a lot of people listening, hopefully they're listening, remembers that as well.
Yeah. Good
So
times. Good times, though.
yeah, and that there again, I'll say this, it's one of those things where it's like, man. For me, I was like, I'd like to be part of that group. It just looked fun, and I'm sure it was. And from somebody looking back, it's like, man, that looks like fun. I wish I was with them.
Huss, listen. Even though you weren't out here, you are always part of the group.
Well, I appreciate it,
Always
but
part of the group.
it'd have been great to be, add my 22 right beside there, talking about Ray's misfortune on the step.
One of these days, we'll make it happen, man.
Yeah,
We'll get
yeah.
you up here.
I always say I need to get out more, but man, it's so tough just, trying to put out content on my own and do this, do that. And if I did it full time, I could see what I could do, but
Yeah.
I'm sure I'd probably have an excuse for that then as well. Like, I ain't got time. So, Blackstone Boys, CMAC Cooks really wasn't a thing during Blackstone Boys, or maybe it was. Maybe there was a burning desire down in your belly. I don't know. But when did you kind of say, kind of focus your attention more on CMAC Cooks versus Blackstone, or the shared attention between the two?
Yeah.
What kind of said, what kind of thought did you say, well, I better start focusing more on this
Right.
than Blackstone Boys?
So, I think really it was probably at the beginning of the pandemic. I had already started posting a little bit more content on Blackstone Boys that wasn't Griddle or Blackstone content.
Yeah.
And we actually kind of changed the name to Blackstone Boys and More, just because, hey, if I cooked a pork butt on a Weber or something else, I wanted to, be able to post it. And I didn't necessarily want to have, I didn't want to have a Blackstone account and a Art of Flame account, a Big Green Egg account, and everything. So
Yeah, no, I get it. You don't want to it gets too segmented, and it's too much. It's too much.
way too much. And again, at that point, and even still now, it's just doing it for fun. So, takes me back to 2020, beginning of the pandemic. Once we finally, realized what we were kind of up against, and probably stuck at home or not doing these events and everything for a while, I decided that I was going to get two of my wish list items that I could be at home. One was a hot tub. As an old athlete, I'm sure you know
Yeah.
this. A lot of aches and pains, so that was my excuse to get my hot tub.
Yeah.
Purely medicinal. And the second was I had my eyes on this Art of Flame grill.
Yeah.
For a couple of years, I kind of seen it, and it was, it's not a cheap item, but again, it was the same kind of thing. It's like, okay, if I'm going to be stuck here, I'm still going to be cooking and everything. I'm going to get that too. So, ordered my Art of Flame grill, got it.
Let's tell the folks kind of what an Art of Flame is.
Oh yeah, sorry.
It's a really, I've wanted one. I considered getting one too.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's tell them exactly what that is, because they're pretty slick.
Yeah, so they've been around since about 2015, I believe, and it's basically a concept of a outdoor grill. It's actually more of a plancha than a grill, that people can cook around. It's a social grill, right?
Yeah,
They got different sizes. I got the 40 inch. So it's a metal device. The
hmm
back then it was all basically they took raw metal, they sprayed salt water on it, let it rust or get
yeah,
that rust patina on it, and that
patina.
was the
Yeah,
look.
yeah, they're
And the
beautiful.
more you had it outside, it kind of ages, right?
Yeah.
And it's just it's supposed to be an art piece, but
Okay.
something that you can
Yeah.
cook on.
Yeah.
And what I really liked about it too, again, was because of the events that I do, because of a number of friends that I have that like to cook. We've had bring your own steak parties, right? Everybody brings their favorite type of steak, marinated, dry rub, whatever,
Yeah.
and you can cook. We can have 6 people all cooking around on the plancha, and so it's a neat device. It's almost like live fire version of cooking on a griddle, right? Which I've always liked live fire. I've always been intrigued with it. And this is full. I mean, you can put charcoal in it, but it's really designed to be used with wood.
So it looks like a pedestal, right, with a fire in the side of
Yeah,
it, with a flat plate that runs around the perimeter, and
a
I
little
think they also
grill
got
in the
some.
middle.
Yeah, and then the grill, and it's got like a riser with grates, and you can go over fire if you want. But yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
dang slick. Then, I mean, just think, you could save your money. You could tell that way you don't have to supply the dang ribeye. You know what I'm saying? You say, hey, Jack, bring your own crap, man, because I bought this thing. I don't got to
Shh,
pay
don't
for your
don't
ribeye.
don't don't tell anybody that was really the reason I did it.
That's how you justify the price. It's
Yeah,
like,
I don't
well,
have to get
yeah,
47 ribeyes, right?
yeah, yeah.
But it
But
it so I got that during right at the beginning of the pandemic in 2020. Got it, and since I had already kind of dipped my toe in the water with social media on Blackstone Boys, I decided that okay, everybody likes to do unboxing. Let's do an unboxing when I got it. So I did an unboxing, did a couple videos, and I started hearing back from the owners of Artiflame, Jennifer and McKeel. Basically, Jennifer was kind of doing their social media at that point. She said, "Hey, listen, love the unboxing. We've got some new accessories for the Artiflame. If we send them
yeah,
to you, will you do some videos and some pictures?" And I said, absolutely. And I didn't have the heart to tell her that I already had a list of accessories that I was going to buy anyway.
right,
But
right,
so I said, well, this is kind of cool. Stuff that I'm going to be doing anyway. Now I got a company wanting to
yeah.
send me some stuff. So they sent me the pizza
She set the hook
attachment.
in you right then. She set the hook good.
Oh, yeah. And so basically did the same thing. Now that's
Yeah,
kind of around the time that I expanded to Blackstone Boys and more because my first non-Blackstone videos, I believe, or content was all in the Art of Flame, and
okay,
that was before CMAC Cooks, and I put it on that.
yeah,
So anyway, long story short, to answer your question, it wasn't too long after that I decided that, you know, sometimes you just get too much going on in
yeah,
an account, and especially one with the Blackstone name in it. I
sure,
said I'm going to create my own with my nickname CMAC Cooks, and I could put Blackstone on there. I could put Art of Flame. I could put Big Green
yeah.
Egg, whatever else. And so that was kind of the start of CMAC Cooks, and it just, yeah, again, it allows me to do, something else comes along, another product that I really believe in, and I'm having fun cooking on. I can post it on there, and it just doesn't kind of confuse people, and it kind of stays with the brand.
I get it. Yeah, that's always a lot of people start out and things progress, maybe not how they thought it was going to progress, and they're kind of married to the name now,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
it's just, unfortunately, that's the way it goes. And thankfully, I was lucky, and I had no idea, my name or what I would be doing would where I'd be. Thankfully, I'm not, tied to anything. So,
Right.
but still, you still get hit by the algorithm anyway by what you majority post, the
Sure.
majority post. But it is what it is. I like posting what I want to post and just do it
Yeah.
that way. So
Absolutely.
so that kind of leads us kind of into ambassadorships, that kind of thing. So you're one of the big ambassadors for Big Green Egg as well, right?
Well, by big, are you talking human size or
Well, well, both. Well, no, you're part of their whatever. What do they call it?
BG
Is it
Team
a
Green?
pro
Yep.
team? Yeah, kind of their pro team with Tina. Was it Tina Cannon, right? Or
Yep.
and then Ron
Captain
in
Ron,
Florida. Who's the guy in Canada?
Dark Side of the Grill, Big
Dark Side of the
Mel,
Grill. There's a few
Barbecue
others.
Buddha,
Yeah, Barbecue Buddha. He's in
Chris
Florida,
Sussman.
right?
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, you're part of those cats. I feel like that's a big deal personally, especially I was a big green egg guy
Yeah.
before I was a Blackstone guy.
Right.
So I cooked on those things, man. Still love it,
Yeah.
But having kids, babies, small kids, getting dinner on the table as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I was fast with my egg. I mean, I had a weed torch that I lit the sucker with. After trials and tribulations, I can get that sucker up and going especially with some good charcoal in no time. But it was still a task,
Sure.
and kids need to be fed and that kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
but man, I still love cooking on it. It's still one of my babies. What's it like working for Big Green Egg? What's it like being an ambassador for them, being part of that group?
Yeah. It's listen, it's been great. I don't want to get all weird and say, oh, it's a dream come true, but it was funny. It's so I had my Big Green Egg way before I had my Artiflame, way before I had my
You,
Blackstone.
you got an extra large. You got an extra large, right?
I had an extra large and a mini max.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And I got my extra large, yeah, when we were still in California. And so kind of a funny little story. There's about 10 minutes away from where we used to live in California, in Santa Clara, I think it's the only Big Green Egg dealer that's actually only Big Green Egg.
Yeah.
That's all they sell.
Is that Eggs by the Bay, right?
Eggs by the Bay, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had seen, Big Green Eggs before. I knew they had a cult following, never had cooked on one. So one day I decided I was going to go over there and just kind of check them out and talk to the guy, and took my daughter over there. And Smitty is the owner.
Smitty, yeah.
And I said, Smitty, so here's what I have. Here's all my cookers, listed them all out. So what, tell me why I need a Big Green Egg. And he goes, well, do you need one? Probably not, because you got all these other cookers that can kind of
Right.
do all this stuff. Which, by the way, I really liked about him, because he wasn't that typical salesperson that said, "Oh no,
Yeah.
here's why you need to get one."
Right.
But he did
Ultimate
say,
grilling machine.
yeah, but he did say, listen, if you get one, you
Yeah.
probably will get rid of most of your other cookers, because Big Green Egg can do it all, kind of.
It really is very versatile.
Yeah.
I will say that,
Yeah.
and very economical too. I know the price tag at first, is a little steep, but it's very efficient and economical. So
Oh yeah. So I said, well, listen, I love cooking on different things, but I'm really intrigued by this. So anyway, long story short, ordered an extra large. He came and set it up for me, put it together, kind of walked me through my first little cooked some chicken thighs, and
yeah,
I was
that's
hooked,
nice.
man.
Yeah.
I was hooked, and I had to kind of go back to him. I said, Smitty, you're kind of right. I've got some old smokers just sitting around collecting dust
Yeah.
now. So that was kind of the start of it for Big Green Egg. When I kind of formed the relationship with Artiflame, I had also put together Artiflame's first social media team.
Oh,
And so, Captain Ron and my friend Dave, who lives out in Chicago, and we had a nice little tight team. We had some folks from the UK and Germany. But that also kind of got my feet wet about, these ambassador teams and so forth. I was fortunate also as I moved up here to kind of begin a relationship with the Big Green Egg distributor, who is Tarrenton out of New Jersey, but they have a warehouse out here in about 15 minutes away from my house.
Okay.
And met the sales guy from the distributor, Jay, and we kind of clicked and saw each other at some egg fests and everything. Anyway, kind of fast forward to a little while as I continued, getting some traction with Blackstone Boys and Art of Flame from a social media perspective. I had mentioned to these guys, I said, hey, by the way, when are you guys going to help get me on BGE Team Green? I said, I cook on my Big Green Egg probably more than I cook on anything.
Yeah.
And they're like, you want to be on the team? I said, I'd love to be on the team. So they were actually a really driving force to kind of support me. They had been distributing Big Green Egg for like 20 years. And so they were very close with folks at corporate, and basically said, hey, we'd love this guy to be part of the group. You got a lot of Floridians, you got some Texas guys, you got some Canada, but you don't have anybody from New England.
Yep.
It's probably a reason, by the way.
Well, when you think about cooking, that area, you just chowder.
New England is not known as a hotbed of barbecue, and from a guy, from North Carolina. And
I got the chowder.
Yeah, and traditionally, listen, a lot of people will put their, I've never heard the word barbecue season so many times that I've heard out here, or grilling season. And you're the same way, I'm sure. I don't believe there is one. For me, it's year round.
Yeah, there's not here. I mean, we don't get cold, like you're cold, So yeah, we're always we're always filming here for content, So the cool thing is these devices give off heat, so it's not that cold.
Hey, listen, sometimes I'd much rather be out here with a parka on and brushing the snow off than when it's 90 degrees and humid. So
oh my gosh, dang sweat rolling down every. Yeah, I don't even want to say, but I'd much rather be cold and trying to get warm for sure. Because sometimes, man, that heat just takes it out of you, Craig. It just, Jacob and I will be filming, and I'm like, man, I don't have another one in me. We try to film multiples, and I might have stuff ready, but I'm like, I just don't have it. My tank is empty because I'm just tired. So
but that's that with the help of Tarrenton, and at that point I knew Captain Ron, who had been part of the team at Big Green Egg for a while. I just had I had a little group of people in my corner and supporting me, and their social media guy reached out to me and said, hey, the Tarrenton loves what you're doing. They'd love to have you on the team. We'd love to have you on, and that's kind of where it all started.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool whenever things just kind of just align just perfectly. It's like, maybe this was just supposed to be my home, Captain Ron, he just seems like just a great guy. Just somebody you always want to be around with. I don't know if that's just the way it's supposed to be or what, but that's just a put on. I don't know.
It's all a facade, Huss.
It's a sham, huh? Okay, I get it.
Oh my God,
okay.
I've had to spend so much time with that guy and his lovely girlfriend Lynn over the last couple of years in events. He actually came out here for Riverfest. He was one of, in fact, similar story, right? He was one of the first times we really talked, or at least talked in length, was I had him along with you as a guest for that virtual Riverfest.
Yeah.
And I think it was the next year, him and Lynn ended up coming out, staying at the house for Riverfest, so he got to see it firsthand. Yeah. But no, Ron's a great guy. Man, you talk about road warrior, he does. Because he also works for Fogo. So he not only works for them, but obviously, represents them at a lot of events. So between Big Green Egg and Fogo, the guys and he lives in Florida where the events go year round.
Year round, yeah. Yeah.
So he goes crazy, but he is truly one of the good guys, one of my great friends out there, and
Yeah.
as much as social media can be a dumpster fire,
Yeah.
I really credit it to, and again, it's how you use it, right? But I credit
Yeah.
it to I've got I've got great friends back in California. I got a great set of friends out in Arizona from living there. Great friends here, and I got some great virtual friends.
Yeah.
Some I've gotten a chance, a lot I've gotten a chance to meet through events.
Yeah.
Some again haven't, but absolutely will. So it's like anything in life,
What's,
right? You got the good and the bad of social media, and I
yeah.
try to, pick all the good things out of it and have fun with it.
What's your wife think about these internet friends?
So my wife is not big on. She's not on TikTok. She's not on Instagram. She's on Facebook, but she hardly ever does it. So she thinks I'm a little weird, but
Okay, good. I'm glad.
especially with with the friend, she can't keep track of. I say, babe, it's. I'm on with Hussey today. Who are these people?
Yeah.
Um,
She don't know me. The heck?
sounds like maybe you get that too.
My wife, she's like, I was like, yeah, so and so, they want to come and cook with me, and she was like, Hussey, she's like, do you trust them? I said, yeah, I trust them. And she's like, I was like, look, why would I jeopardize our family? And I was like, if somebody really wanted to find me, I mean, it's not hard, but
Yeah.
so she's like, well, all right. But yeah, she thinks it's a little weird too.
Yeah, and it can be. I mean, listen, we had Ron and Lynn came and stayed with us for like 3 days for Riverfest. Had not met the guy in person, so
Yeah.
you are kind of rolling the dice a little bit. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, maybe they're big slobs or anything, but great. Again, great
Yeah.
people, and I've had
I've
nothing but good experiences with pretty much everybody that I've met through this journey.
The one thing, this will tie us really together. Well, over on the Egghead forum, I'm over there as
Old
well.
school.
Tar Heel Matt was there for the longest time, and
Yeah.
I used to just religiously be on that thing, and kind of I don't really go there much anymore. But there's a guy, his name's Jim White, J.R. White. I think it's
Yep.
J.R. White. I don't know if you know who I'm talking. He lived in Georgia, so we went to never met the guy in didn't know him from Adam, and I said, Jim, we're going down to the Egg Fest in Atlanta at the Stone Mountain
Oktoberfest. Yep.
Oktoberfest. Yep.
Yep.
He says, you're not booking a room, you're staying here, and you're staying with me. We got plenty of room. And I was like, oh, Jim, we were just internet friends. Never met the guy. Never even, I don't know if I saw a picture of him. And it's same thing. He's like, nope, we got a room for you. You're coming here, buddy. And so, and that's how, some internet friends have just become, he's a really good guy. He actually moved from Georgia up to North Carolina, but just going back to this, how internet friends have become just real good friends. And, old Jim, he's salt of the earth. So probably just like Captain Ron. So,
Well, listen, there is something to say, and I've had this conversation with many, many people. There's something to be said about the barbecue family. There's a lot of that goes on, right? We never met each other, but stay at my house, whatever else. Your new podcast, again, you're going to be able to reach out to all these creators of barbecuers that you may not have even talked about before, but because you're one of the family. Again, there's bad apples everywhere. But I'll tell you
yeah,
what, at least from my experience so far, very few in this realm.
I don't know if
Fun.
I can count on one hand and don't need many fingers to know the bad apples.
Yeah.
And that's for sure. That's for
Yep.
sure. Very good. So being on the team, the Big Green Egg team, do you get early access to like new new product initiatives, NPIs, whatever you want to call it, or unique opportunities. I know, you cook at a lot of the Egg Fest. And also I was wanting to go back Smitty's Egg Fest because I was on the Egghead forum.
Yeah.
Smitty is always on the forum. Did you ever go to one of his Egg Fests? I think it's Eggs by the Bay Egg Fest, right? Something like
Yep.
that.
So unfortunately, he does not do them anymore.
Oh,
Every time
really?
I talk to him, I try to. If I go back to California, go back home to see people, I usually pop over there. I've been trying to talk him into it. But yes, so 3 months after I got my egg from Smitty, actually, when I got my egg from Smitty, he told me about this Egg Fest. Never heard of Egg Fest before. And he said, yeah, it's coming up in about 3 months. And I said, let us in. He goes,
Yeah.
don't you want to come, see what it's all about as a spectator? And I said, no,
Yeah.
didn't know what I was getting myself into. So got my boys together, and man, we had the greatest time. It was on a Sunday in Saratoga underneath the pines.
Yeah.
Dr. Barbecue, Ray Lampy was
Right.
kind
Yeah.
of the big green egg guy there. And we had a frickin' blast. We put together a brunch menu. We were the only team that was serving cocktails. We did smoked Bloody Mary and smoked mimosas. We did a bunch of other brunch stuff. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, Matt, I was hooked. That was so much fun. And we ended up finishing, I think, in People's Choice, I think we finished third out of 32 teams or something like that.
3 months into it, and you're over there taking hardware home. Dang
3 months
boy.
into it, and yeah, but we just had a blast. And again, it's not our first rodeo cooking.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it was doing something like that, and strictly on, and I had been the only one that had cooked on a big green egg at that point.
Yeah.
But again, if you cooked on a Weber or whatever, you can figure out how to cook on an egg.
There's a little bit of, there's not a little bit, there's quite a bit of finesse on the egg. Like I was, like lighting it. Lighting it was one of my, I couldn't get consistent lights,
Yeah.
And then I saw somebody they said, go to Harbor Freight, get you a weed torch, hook that sucker up to a dang 20-pound propane tank, and give it all you got.
Yeah.
And after that, I had no issues, no more. And, I didn't have to worry with the little square, little cardboard things.
Right.
They used to have the wire or the element, the heating element.
Yeah, that you
and,
just put
the
underneath
electric
the
thing, but
charcoal.
I didn't have any electricity where I was at. And so I went to weed torch, and that's still what I do today. I got like a grill gun now, but yeah,
Well,
there's a little bit of technique to them, but
True.
yeah, overall though, if you know how to play with fire a little bit, the kettle world is, you come from the kettle world, it's pretty easy.
Yeah. Well, that's what my good friend Mel, Dark Side of the Grill, would say, and fire in the hole, right? The more
Yeah.
fire, the better. And you're absolutely right. I think that's the biggest thing I hear from people when they come to me and they ask, what kind of grill I should get. It's
Yeah.
God, the charcoal grills, they just, they take so long to fire up, and I just want to put, something on, and, that's why I do propane grills, and I'm like, listen, once you figure out how to do it,
Yeah.
I cook on my, my eggs probably at least 4 to 5 nights a week or days a week. My Mini Max, which is my little powerhouse, if I'm just cooking kind of for myself or a couple of steaks, I literally can get it up and running in minutes. I, fire it up, go in the house. I finish, my whatever I'm going to do with my steaks. By the time I bring it out, I'm practically up to temp. It's one of those things, again, that you just kind of learn how to do it. And, but I think from a flavor perspective, if I'm, talking about just a regular propane grill, I'm not talking griddle, but propane grill versus, live fire, charcoal, wood, whatever. There's you can't compare the two in terms of taste.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So I think that extra 10, 15 minutes is absolutely worth it.
Yep. If you got the time, for sure. Yep.
Yeah.
And then you learn the thing after a while. Like right now, I haven't cooked on my large in a long time. But I know I can go out there right now. I know where to light it. I know where to put my vents at for the first 10, 15 minutes. And I know where to put it at to hit 250, and it'll run like that for 16 hours.
Yeah.
It's just that thing. It's just automatic. You know,
Yeah. But
love that thing.
But listen, there is something to be said about if I just, if I want quick and easy
Yeah,
and a couple of burgers or dogs for the kids or some stir fry or something, man, I'm still firing up my 22, getting
yeah.
that on the griddle, bada
They're
bing, bada boom, and
workhorses.
I'm done.
Yep, they're workhorses. Yep. I like to have options. You know,
Yeah,
I tell everybody just get what you can afford financially and real estate on your deck.
yeah, absolutely true.
Then you'll be like my wife. She's looking at you side eyed like you're whenever I'm always like thinking trying to sell it to her, but like we got this new thing. It's like if I'm getting an Artiflame or something. Like it's like a pedestal. Like man, and then she's I'm just like trying to bait her up real good. So
Yeah,
these other guys they just got to figure that part out how to bait them up real good.
exactly.
Yeah. Um. Let me see here. Any kind of, I mean, you just did smoked cocktails,
Yeah,
which probably I'm not a drinker. I'll partake in a cheer wine, no
yes, you
alcoholic in
will.
that. But yeah, what kind of like unique recipes do you do on your Big Green Egg? Somebody I always again I'm gonna pat you on the I'm gonna give you a attaboy because even like your holiday dinners, you have like this you'll have a nice little menu. It's all put together. And then, I look at that and I'm like, dang, Hussey, you are a hot mess, son. I mean, it's like day before. You're still thinking about doing that corn pudding, but I don't know, So, what kind of unique recipes do you enjoy cooking on your Big Green Egg? Could be on Artie Flame, could be on
Yeah,
Blackstone. It could be anything, but could you share kind
yeah.
of what you like to do?
So first of all, from that, my printed menus for Thanksgiving and stuff, I obviously got way too much time on my hands. So, don't come down on yourself. That's not a mad issue. That's a CMAC has way too much time on his hands.
I'm so envious. I'm so envious. I just don't think
But
I got that in me, bro. I'm just not that planner. I'm just a hot mess. That's just what it is.
listen, I'm an ADHD kid. So I kind of need to do that stuff, to keep my brain working right and to keep sane a little bit.
Yeah.
If not, I'm all over the board. But to answer your question, I love cooking. Now, listen, nothing wrong with ribs and brisket and pulled pork and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I love cooking unusual stuff.
Yeah.
I think as of my latest, so we've got a great butcher out here that's about 25 minutes away from me in Lowell, Massachusetts called Alpine Butcher. By the way, they're a great follow on social media. I think they're on pretty much all the platforms.
Alpine Butcher.
Alpine Butcher.
Okay.
And they carry from their beef perspective, they only carry prime and up. They got
Oh
a
wow.
ton of A5 Wagyu, Australian, all that stuff. They've got a great wild game, but they also have a lot of interesting cuts.
Hmm.
And so the last time that I was there, I've gotten to know two brothers own it. One's name is Tom, and gotten to know him a little bit. Really, really great guy, and I think he does all their videos. But I happened to run into him last time I was there. Went up there to get some tri-tip, which is a little bit more difficult to find out here than it is in California, obviously.
I couldn't find any today. I had to buy some today.
Yeah, I mean, listen, my California roots, it's still my favorite cut to cook.
Yeah. I love them. I love tri-tip.
But I went out there to get so I picked up a couple of tri-tips and some Denver steaks, and Tom goes, "Hey, I got something for you." So he goes in the back and he brings out this wild looking. At first, it looked like a real thick picanha
Hmm.
with some crazy marbling, and the marbling looked like A5 Wagyu. And I'm like, "What the hell is that?" And it was the hump hump muscle from a Brahman bull,
Oh wow.
which is a common cut in Brazil, kind of, again like picanha,
Hmm.
but you'd be hard pressed to find it in your local butcher shop around,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't.
pretty much anywhere in the states.
Local Piggly Wiggly ain't gonna have it.
No, no.
No.
And so Tom had got, I think he had to order like 100 pounds of this, but I mean, it was a good size roast.
Yeah.
And I'd actually seen the video, and when he brought that out, I said, "Oh, I think I did see that video." So he cooked it like a brisket. Anyway, long story short, he gave it to me. I cooked it the other day. I got a reel or a post, whatever. It was phenomenal. I cooked it like a brisket, get a little bit higher because one thing that he said, I think he took his to 202, 203, and he said, I wish I would have braised it or taken it a little bit higher because it was still not, he wasn't looking for fall apart. We weren't doing, we were doing slices and we weren't going to, pull or chop. But I ended up taking it to get probe tender. It took about 210.
210. Wow.
And was not overcooked at all, super
Yeah.
juicy. I let it rest for probably 3 hours and cut it. It was really freaking good. So Brahman bull hump, in Brazil they call it cupim or cupim, cupim. Super good, but that kind of stuff. I love cooking bone marrow for people because there's still a lot of
Yeah.
people out there that think it's, bone marrow. They can only get it like a high-end,
Yeah.
steakhouse or something.
I've
Super
never
easy.
had it, never cooked it. I do know I've seen you do it a lot.
I've done it on my Blackstone, by the way.
Oh, really? Just lay the bones flat?
So, yeah, you get it cut longwise, right? So they're basically boats, and you put the bone side on, down on the Blackstone, because if you do it the other way, by the time it starts cooking, it'll start leaching out everywhere, and
Oh, yeah.
you want all that goodness to stay in there. But I'll put a dome over it to get
Okay.
to get the cooking. But I'll tell you what, super easy again. Most of the time you go into your butcher and they have them as, my butcher has them as dog bones. So I got two
Yeah.
big, he goes, "What are you doing with these? You got dog?" I said, "I do have dogs, but I'm cooking these." And a little bit of barbecue rub on it. Once it gets all nice and gelatinous, pull them off. I hit it with a little lemon and parsley, and then it's just scooping and putting it on a little crostini, and it's meat
Yeah.
butter.
Yeah, I've meant to try that. I just never have.
Give it a
I'm
shot.
pretty sure I'd love it.
Well, here's the other thing too, and again, I love cooking for people, and I love cooking things that people have never had before too. And that's a good one. It's a great little appetizer if you want to, you got some friends over and you want to just kind of, get something in their bellies until the brisket or whatever else is coming out. But it's, it looks impressive,
Yeah.
and once people taste it, I mean, again, you dollop some of that on a little crostini, it's money.
Game over. Game over. I
Game
like it.
over. But oxtails, I love Southern cooking. I've done, Rocky Mountain oysters. That's not a regular, but it's, I can't tell you that, some of the things that I do, I'm hoping I get more
Right.
eyes on it than others, but yeah,
Well, yeah, we're all trying to. Yeah, you're trying to broaden
yeah.
your reach. So
So I mean, anything kind of unusual, I'm up for trying. I'm a very adventurous eater, which I wasn't growing up.
yeah,
So I think I'm making up for the, up
lost
through
time.
college. I think I lived on Coca-Cola, McDonald's, and Doritos were my three main food groups. So
Yeah,
I'm kind of making up for being a little bit more adventurous with my eating, as an adult.
yeah. That's a lot of people used to place me in the category of barbecue because I had a big green egg. But if you go back, going back to the egghead forum, I always like to try and do the whole meal
Yeah.
on the egg. That's always kind of tough, or just all kinds of different things. Bringing in some cast iron, doing that kind of stuff, and not just ribs, short ribs, or pork ribs, or butts, or briskets. So I don't think how many briskets I've probably made on my eggs. Probably less than a dozen, I'm sure. But that's what especially when you go to those egg fests and stuff, you could really people do some wild stuff at those things. You really it broadens your horizon. You're like, shoot, I didn't think about this.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the fun stuff, right? I've done suckling pigs on my egg. I've done gator. Gator's always fun do a whole gator for egg fests are always fun.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Does it taste like chicken?
uh, it all depends on how you do it. Either chicken or sometimes fish. But
Yeah.
as long as you clean that fat out of the tail, it kind of tastes like whatever you put on it. I
Yeah.
clean the fat out of the tail. I kind of butterfly it and put. It's actually, was it Malcolm Reed's? I think I kind of stole what I do, a little bit different, but I think it was one of Malcolm Reed's recipes where it's stuff the tail with cream cheese mixture with
Oh.
spices in it and everything. It's pretty darn good. But
Yeah.
a lot of
I've only,
people up in these northern parts have never tried gator, so that's always
yeah.
fun too.
I've had it, but it's only like fried gator.
Fried
It used
gator
to be,
bites, yep.
yeah. And I mean, it was pretty much like popcorn chicken. Like you said, it just takes on. You
Yeah.
fry it like chicken, it's gonna taste about like chicken.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's pretty cool. Going on to like content creation and stuff, we are touching on that a little bit
Yeah.
and balancing, partnerships. You'd worked with Artiflame, and then you're also with Big Green Egg, and you do any work with Fogo
I do.
also? You
Yep,
do?
on
Yeah.
Fogo's team.
I like
Yep.
their charcoal. They got very good charcoal.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you think the same, but no charcoal's created equal. I mean, there's some charcoals that's decent. There's some charcoal that's just superior. It burns well, burns clean.
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel the same way, but Fogo was always a real good, clean burning charcoal that I like to use a lot.
Well,
But
I mean, to kind of, go into the realm of content creation, working and balancing, I think that's a great question, is balancing. How do you balance working with these companies? Because I do, so I kind of, when I got into this thing, I really and started getting a little bit of attention and started having companies want to send me stuff. I really said to myself, because I'm not doing this to make a living necessarily, right?
yeah,
I said, you know what? I'm going to really only work with companies that I already use their product. I like their product, and I like the people that are behind it.
yeah,
I'm
yep,
not just going to work with anybody that's willing to, that wants to throw me free stuff or money or whatever else. It just,
yep.
I,
I'm gonna do
I'm,
what you want to do on your terms.
yeah. And so it's a good position to be in. So when you're talking about, Art of Flame, that, this whole thing pretty much started with, out of Blackstone and Art of Flame. Big Green Egg, I had my egg for years before, I got on the team and was cooking with it a ton. Fogo was my choice of charcoal.
Yeah,
So when I was invited to get on there, and that's a big thank you to Captain Ron, who really helped me with that relationship. And by the way, all these companies, Uncle Steve, our good friend Uncle Steve from Uncle Steve
yeah,
Shake, I work with him. PS Seasonings, these companies it's been such a great mutual thing, right? I
hmm,
try to give them, quality content and, talk up the product from a user's perspective. And they've been great, and not just, getting, you know, items before they come out to test or whatever else. Big Green Egg, Fogo, they've Uncle Steve, they've all been so great for Riverfest.
yeah,
They donate a lot of product because they know I'm doing something, that I'm working with nonprofits, right? And
yeah,
so the relationship, the mutual relationship has been great, and it's something that I really cherish. Not something that I want to go out and work with somebody else that's doing a like product just because they promise they're going to give me more money or whatever.
right, yeah,
Um, to me, the loyalty of it, and the loyalty in some cases is a lost art form.
Yeah.
And I think
You're right.
I think in the whole creation, the creator realm, I think you can tell if people are being genuine, or you can also tell, my God, so and so is doing a unboxing every other day with a different
Yeah.
rub company or something like. And I just think people see through that, but it's just it's not me. I like to keep my portfolio kind of tight,
Yep.
and again, work with people that I like and products that I absolutely use. Some on a
Yeah.
daily basis.
It's a good point, especially for those that are just getting into this or thinking about it. But it's once you start getting your first little gig, it might be free stuff, and you're like, oh, this is great. It sucks being a slave to the system where you're just like every night it's like, oh, I gotta do a video on this, gotta do a video on this. It's like, oh, man, I'm right there with you. I try to keep I keep everything kind of tight. I don't do a whole lot of partnerships. You get a lot coming in, and it's just hard to keep up with it all. And you also want to be genuine. It's like like you said, that one guy or girl doing an unboxing of a new thing every so often it's like, gosh, you do a lot.
Yeah. Well, and listen, everybody, people looking to get different things out of being a creator, whether it's an
Yep,
ambassador, whether it's an
that's
influencer,
right.
whatever else. I mean, especially since I retired, I've been so fortunate that I've got companies like Big Green Egg or Art of Flame or whoever that want me to go out and represent their product, and they're willing to send me to, you know, Key West or Dallas or Memphis in May cooking for Big Green Egg, and my buddy Captain Ron, again, we spent a lot of time together at these events, and one thing that we say almost religiously at each one of these events is we look at each other and say, can you believe this? I mean, how lucky are we to be spending a
Yeah,
weekend or a few days or whatever else cooking and
just
having
cooking.
fun and
Yep,
meeting people? And I mean, it's yeah. I just think I'm
it's awesome.
really fortunate to be able
Yeah,
to do it as my kind of retirement. But I also believe that once it's not fun anymore, once it feels like work, I that's and I haven't gotten there yet, but that's when I will kind of reevaluate things and say, I don't want my hobby, the thing that I love to do, my happy place is out on my deck cooking food.
yeah,
I don't want that to feel like work or hassle or something else. And I
right.
get it.
Yeah,
Sometimes, lugging all your camera equipment, all the way down the backyard to do an Art of Flame video, or it's 100 degrees out there and the flies are buzzing. I plan on doing this Big Green Egg content. Yeah, sometimes,
yeah,
you know, but 99.9% of the time, I'm like, come on,
yeah.
what is there to complain about?
Yeah, you don't have to do some kind of appraisal report or some
Yeah,
kind of junk for a corporate world. So
TPS
yeah,
reports.
yeah, it does
Yeah,
TPS reports. That's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you just gotta you know just take a look back and say, oh,
yeah,
okay, well, it's not so bad. Oh, you got to lug camera equipment out. Oh, sucks to be you.
yeah, right.
Oh man. Out of all the things that you cook with, what's your favorite thing to cook on? And
Oh,
I know
see,
everyone probably has
that's that.
this uniqueness, and
Yeah.
every one of them has a unique thing you bring to the table. But if you had to, if somebody went out there and chopped your deck up, which piece do you want to be left to
Oh,
cook on?
Matt, that's a tough question. That's like asking what's your favorite, which one of your kids is your favorite, right? I mean, you may
Yeah,
have one, but you're not going to,
yeah,
you're not going to admit it on recorded podcast. Listen, I've kind of got my cooking arsenal, at least right now, down to, bigger and eggs, Art of Flame, my
yeah.
Blackstone. I do have a cotton gin drum smoker that I really like.
Oh,
That usually gets used for comps and when I want to hang meat because it's
yeah,
just again something different, right? You talk
yeah,
about it. It's even though my Big Green Egg can do a lot, I can't really hang meats in there. So each one
yeah,
of my cooking devices has its own little, things that I like to do. If I'm doing, stir fry, right? Yeah, I can do it on
Sure.
the wok on my egg, but I'll tell you what, I still love doing fried rice, stir fry on my Blackstone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just, every time I do that, I get, I want to do like Todd and do, sauce over my
Oh
back or
yeah.
something.
I tried it.
Um,
I tried it, and the dang sauce ran down my leg. So I was like, you know what? That's
so
only for Todd. Okay.
yeah, right. Yeah, but at the same time, I go out and say, listen, I'm going to do a little cooking on my on my Blackstone. I need to get some good groceries, you
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
So
Who's up? Who's up?
yeah,
Yep. No, I
yeah.
totally get it.
So
That
it's
was that one whammy. Like I wanted to
I,
throw out there that one whammy question. So yeah,
yeah, no,
I would have the
I like it.
same.
I call those my 60-minute questions, right? You put a
Yeah.
little pressure on 'em, but
Yeah. Yeah. But squeeze you a little bit there.
so I'm gonna kind of weasel out of that a little bit, saying that
Next.
all my kids are my favorite.
We can cut that out too if you want to. But
No, no, no.
um, let's go. We're getting on down, getting pretty close to finishing this up,
Let's keep going. Let's go.
dude. Isn't it fun? Whenever I
Yeah.
go,
Well, listen, my
it's
next
just
favorite thing, almost, Matt, than cooking. Cooking's all my favorite thing. My next favorite is talking about cooking.
yeah,
With like-minded individuals. This is
yeah,
why we do it, right? Because we've got a passion around cooking, and
yeah,
I think a lot of our passions. I know mine. My passion is even stronger trying to get people to cook. So when I'm doing my
yeah,
kids' cooks or yeah, cooking something unusual or getting, somebody gets a new Blackstone or a new Big
yeah.
Green Egg. I said, let me know when you fire it up for the first time. I'll come over and help. I love doing that
I do
stuff.
too.
So
I like knowing. I like knowing people that do things differently. Because I'm a firm believer that no one way is the best way. Man, I tell you what, some of these dang comments you get,
uh,
there's like, you dumb redneck. That's not how you do that. You're supposed to do it like this. And I'm like, look, son, I've logged a lot of dang cooks on this Blackstone. I've fed a lot of people, and I'm gonna tell you what, nobody has left unsatisfied yet.
yeah, yeah,
But it's just like, okay, yeah, you just gotta kind of say, beat off. But it's like it's cool because you've got California influence. Now you're New England influence. But I just feel like there's great cooks everywhere.
yeah.
Regionally, yeah, North Carolina, we got barbecue. It's Texas barbecue, but Texas barbecue's better. It's just everybody's just got good groceries. Yeah, that's just the way it is.
It's listen. You've always got trolls out there.
Yeah,
If you don't have a couple of trolls, then you're probably not doing it right.
that's right. That's right.
Everybody wants to weigh in, but yeah, listen, I love people that are passionate about something, right? It doesn't
Yeah,
even have to be about cooking. I like, people are passionate about cars or what. I love cars. I'd probably never have a lowrider, but I love when I see a cool ass lowrider come and this guy's passionate about what he's doing with this car. So
yeah, yeah,
I'm that's what gets me going is when
yep,
people are passionate about something in their life.
yep.
And
Passionate
for
about the
me, for
craft.
us, it happens to be cooking and entertaining and events and
Yep.
it's taken me 50 plus years to figure out that this is my passion at this point in my life. So
Yeah, I like learning about people's craft. There's just something about it because anything you get into, there's a rabbit. I mean, you go down a rabbit hole on
yeah,
just about anything. You can go on a rabbit hole about rabbit holes.
that is true.
So outside of cooking,
Yeah,
what other kind of personal hobbies or interests are you passionate about?
man. So like you, I've got kids. My kids are. I've got one that's senior in high school. So we've been doing the
See,
whole college tours and
ooh,
applications and everything. My
She gonna
daughter
go
is
local or she
yeah, so
elsewhere?
he doesn't want to go. He likes staying pretty close to home. And the nice thing about Massachusetts is there are a ton of great schools. He's going to be a
Yeah.
computer science major,
Nice.
and so yeah, the his three top schools are all within about 30 to 45 minutes from us.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So
That's
we'll
kind of like North
find,
Carolina. We got a great school
yeah,
system as well. Yeah.
yeah. So got busy with him. Our daughter is a freshman in high school, so this will be their last year together. So besides doing all the kid stuff and traveling, I kind of like to nerd out sometimes. I love photography.
Okay.
Um, I don't go out and shoot too much anymore, except for, I mean, that's, I think that the melding of my online persona and photography is kind
It's
of
a good
has
marriage.
both of those elements in.
Yeah.
um, I love aerial photography, so I got into
Mm.
drones back when I was in California with a couple of buddies, and so I think, I mean, the technology of drones has just come such a long way. Those
It's
things
crazy.
practically fly themselves, but the video I did a video not too long ago because the foliage out here in fall, it just gets so beautiful. So I like nerding out with my drone. Love music. I can't be out on my deck cooking without music playing. In fact, I can't be pretty much anywhere without music playing. But yeah, and I'm still a big sports fan. The body got a little beaten up from
I
30
bet.
years of basketball, but I played in college, played overseas for a while, so still love basketball, but with a replaced hip and three bulging discs in my
Oof.
back,
Takes a toll
my,
on you.
my playing days are long over. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that it just kind of keeps, the food thing keeps me busy. The planning of events, as we talked about, I do a lot of local events and working with charities on the board of some nonprofits.
Cool.
So I think I'm actually busier now in my retirement than I
Yeah.
was probably the last 5 years that I was working for AT&T and traveling around the country and abroad managing call centers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good busy though, right?
It's a great busy. It's
Yeah.
truly, yeah, and I really enjoyed my job at AT&T, and they took care of me well. One of the
Yeah.
reasons I was able to retire early. But yeah, I just think I'm really blessed to be able to hang my work boots up early and
Yeah.
really just do whatever I love.
That's great. Um, it's great that you talk to somebody that things just worked out really well for them. With the way, especially the way economies and stuff like that. So a lot of times it's like, oh, COVID hit and it screwed my life all up. So that was good.
Yeah.
As far as CMAC Cooks, 5 years down the road, where do you see CMAC Cooks? And any kind of big goals, big dreams you might be having on the back burner or maybe in the back of the head.
Matt, I'm loving what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
At least for the last few years, I think on this side of the pandemic, each year I've been able to do more, or have had the opportunities to do more and more events. I love doing those. Again, it allows me not only to
Yeah.
cook, but to be able to talk to people that are, interested
Yeah.
in what you're cooking, what you're cooking on, what you're using, all that kind of
Right.
stuff. So my goal is really to continue kind of doing what I'm doing. Continue to get my name out there. Hopefully, continue doing more events with the companies that I'm working with. Yeah, and
I
from a
like that.
local perspective, especially, just continue being able to give back to my community.
Sure.
Working with more of the nonprofits that need help. But yeah, I like the trajectory that I'm going on.
Yep.
I'm about a year and a half away from 60, which is yeah, which
We ain't getting
sounds
no
like a
younger, are we?
big number.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but my mind
You look
still
good.
thinks my mind
Look,
still thinks I'm about 23. My body
yeah,
feels about 83. So it's somewhere there in the middle. So really, I'm having a blast now with what I'm doing. I want to be able to stay healthy and be
yeah,
able to do more of what I'm doing is really
that's
the
awesome.
goal.
I respect that. Being content. I love the heart. I love your heart. Wanting to do more for nonprofits. Just giving back. I dig that. I dig that a lot.
Appreciate that, man.
I wish more would do that. I wish I would do more like that. So yeah. If you could cook or collaborate with anyone, past or present,
Ooh.
who would that be and why? And I'll just go ahead and take myself off of this list.
Oh well, geez.
I don't want to.
Now I got to go number two.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want any home cooking going on. But I'm just
Yeah.
saying, just take me off, and we can just do something later. Yeah.
Yeah. So, one of my favorite cooks. So I got a couple of. I mean, listen, there's a long list, right? So I'm going to kind of go with a couple of famous cooks that I just really love watching. I love what they do. Probably my top guy, and I've been to one of his events before where his cooking got to meet him and talk to him for a little bit, is Francis Mallman.
Hmm.
And not, some people may not even know who he is, but if he
I don't even
is,
know. I don't know.
he is. Oh,
Francis
so
Mama.
look him up. He does, amazing rustic live fire cooking. This guy is a genius.
Nice.
I just think that he is went to an event. So I used to work for Wolfgang Puck when I was in Arizona.
Did you really?
There's a name that you're probably familiar with.
I do know him.
But
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
on.
Talked to him before I talked to you earlier today.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in good company then.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he said, Huss, what's up? I was like, I'm interviewing CMAC later on.
So I was fortunate enough to be on the front of the house team that opened up his first restaurant in Arizona
That's
years
cool.
ago when I lived there. And so it was really cool being around, when he would come and visit to see him. But he had an event at Hotel Bel Air in Beverly Hills where he would bring in, it was a summer event, he would bring in a lot of his cooking friends, other chefs, and Malman was there at the one that we went to. And he had this wild cooking device. It was, this metal cage basically, and that he would start the fire on the, it was on the grass. He'd start the fire on the grass. I'm sure they loved that. And then from this metal contraption, he hung meats and pineapples and all kinds of, sausages and all kinds of stuff and cooked over live fire.
Yeah.
And I just love that kind of stuff. So he's somebody that I would love to cook with. The other guy is Jamie Oliver from the UK. I hate to measure, that's why I'm not a baker, right?
Right.
I love to just, throw things together. And Jamie Oliver's cooking, I think, is, again, really rustic and beautiful. It's something about that guy. I just love. So whenever it shows on, and I got a couple of his cookbooks. Whenever it shows on, I always DVR it to watch it.
Yeah.
But I just think
I
he
like
is.
his stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about him that really does it for me. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
the accent or the,
Maybe you
but
like
he
that
just,
British stuff. Yeah. I don't know.
yeah,
Who knows?
he's just not, not kind of that traditional cook.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so it just, I'm kind of, it favors, kind of what I like to do. But those are two
Yeah.
guys that I would love to sit down and cook with.
Sit down and chew the fat with, cook. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. I have to look up that other guy. That live fire cooking has really gotten more and more popular.
Oh, yeah.
It's been featured on TV more and more, and I've never done any kind. Well, I mean, except for like how we do barbecue here, but it's nothing even close to that. So
Yeah.
But well, let's talk about a little bit of audience engagement, that kind of thing, and then we'll be wrapping this up. What advice would you give anyone starting their own content creation journey and building relationships as far as with your community. What any kind of advice for someone maybe wanting to start out that this would be sage advice from CMAC?
Well, listen, you know, if you're looking to build a following online, the first thing that I say is be authentic.
Yeah,
We talked a little bit about this before, is I think people can, smart people can kind of see through if you're not being your authentic self, if
right.
you're trying to do stuff to, just to get views, and you're coming out of, left field with some of this stuff. It just doesn't feel authentic.
Right.
You know, have fun, be yourself, and and I think if you do that, I think your base will grow.
Yeah.
In our world, in the barbecue griddling world, again, I think most people are pretty damn, we've all been there at 100 followers, right, and trying to grow.
Lord, yes.
I would say don't get too caught up into the whole followers thing.
Yeah.
If you're doing stuff that's engaging and interesting, that'll grow. But don't be afraid to reach out to people. I reached out to a ton of people, along the way. Again, from virtual Riverfest, that I had hardly talked to yourself or Captain Ron, or CJ was on there too.
That's right. Yeah.
You'd be surprised on how willing people are, whether they've got 10,000 followers or 200,000 followers. I think you'd be really surprised on how people are willing to help.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Grill Girl Robin. I don't know if you know Robin, little teeny tiny Robin. So
She was on some kind of TV show too, right? Is that,
I
am I
don't know
thinking
if
about a different one?
Robin was. Could have been. I don't know. But she's
Okay.
she's fantastic. She's she's good friends with Ron. She's part of the
Okay.
whole Florida grilling, smoking community.
Awesome.
But I had sent her a message because I knew she did some women's grilling clinics. And I had some requests out here to do some locally. Actually, from our mayor was was one of them.
Okay.
And so I reached out to Robin through social, through Instagram. I think I sent her a DM and I said, "Hey,
Yeah.
anything?" And she goes, "Well, let me give you a call." And so she called me, and literally, we spent, I don't know, 45 minutes, an hour on the phone. She kind of walked me through,
Yeah.
her concept and pitfalls, pros, cons, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was we had never met in person before. We had, I'd probably liked some of her, said something or whatever.
Right.
We're not on any company teams together, but that was one. The Dog Father, our
Yeah.
boy, the Dog Father,
Out.
was another one. When I was spending a lot of time kind of over with the YouTube community, he was part of that, and he grew really quickly. He had a brisket 101
Yeah.
video that went bonkers.
Took off. I think it was like on a pellet grill or something like that.
Took off. Basically, one video that then allowed him to start monetizing.
Yeah.
And so, same thing. I sent him a message, and I knew him a little bit more just from CJ's show and everything, from the hot seat. I sent him a message. We got on he goes, "This is too long to do it on. Give me your phone number."
Yeah.
And I ended up talking for an hour. Not only a great guy, but great cook and everything. But
Very much.
it just was refreshing how people were willing to share and help somebody else trying to come up. So the networking part of it, I think, is big time. Don't be afraid to shoot somebody a message. Say, "Hey, love your content. I got a question about this because you seem to be doing very well around engagement or the reels that you put out. Do you use the app for your reels, whatever else?" And again, I think there are very few people that are going to look at that and say, "Forget him."
Right. Yeah.
It's just not been my experience. So
I might miss an email, or a message or whatever, and Lord knows, it drives me crazy if I don't get to something. But sometimes people just hit me right at the right time. I'm sitting there on my phone, and the message comes in, and I'm just like, yep,
Yeah.
I might get on the phone with them, and again, my wife, she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Look, they needed help, you know."
Yeah.
And they're like, I never would have thought you would have gotten back to me. And I was like, "Hey, man, I was either there at one time or, it's just, it's humankind. Just be kind to
Yep.
one another. So it's not
Goes
just,
a long way.
hey, this isn't just content creation, cooking, sage advice with CMAC. This is also human loving action going on here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just being a good person. That's what it all.
Absolutely. It doesn't take a whole lot of energy. I think it takes more energy to be an ass than
Yeah,
it does to be a good person. And I'll tell
I
you what,
agree.
from a selfish perspective, feels so much better, man.
Oh yeah, there's
You
nothing
know?
wrong with being the
And
good
we all have our
person.
time. We all have our times and days. We get frustrated by things and everything,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
generally I think it's trying to do the right thing.
I think, just as you said, be authentic, be good, be kind. That's a recipe for success for anything,
Yeah.
for living, a relationship, whatever. I mean, if you just be kind and do the right things fall together. You start.
Agreed.
They say, the more some people say, the more I work, the luckier I get, or the more I love, the luckier I get. It's like it's just a recipe, man.
Hey, I'm
So
a big believer in karma and doing the
sure,
right thing, as much as you can. And I think, good things generally happen to good people. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. Especially these days, man, it's a lot. People are surprised, and nobody should be surprised when you're nice to
right,
them and
yeah,
helpful. But
yeah. That
that's
does
kind
that
of
does.
the world we live in now.
Yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. I think the information just gets out there. There's a lot of good people still out here in this world, and I think it's just the way the social, the information gets out there, that kind of thing. But sometimes I wonder about mankind
Yeah.
and their nature. But then talking to someone like you or somebody else, it's like, oh, we're good. We're good. So pretty much right here at the end, CMAC, the folks listening, the hundreds, thousands, millions of people listening
That's
right now,
right.
where can they find CMAC Cooks
Yeah.
and the Blackstone Boys? Throw it all out there,
Yeah,
brother.
absolutely. Instagram, obviously, Blackstone Boys and CMAC Cooks on the gram, which is probably where I do the majority of my stuff these days.
Yeah.
A little bit in TikTok, little bit still in YouTube. I'll throw some stuff up there. But yeah, and Facebook. I got a CMAC Cooks page on Facebook. So all the regular platforms, and yeah, would love to give me a follow. I'll follow you back, and again, if you got anything that I can do to help anybody else, I'm always willing to do that. But man, you're truly one of the good guys out there, Matthew Hussey. I appreciate you inviting me on, and it's always my pleasure to chew the fat with you, brother.
Well, I appreciate you bringing on, Craig. As I told CJ, I kind of was, wanting to get into this podcast thing. I was wanting someone a familiar face, someone I was comfortable with. Really helps. Getting my feet wet in this chew the fat session. So again, I like your heart. I like what you do. I like the way you come across, and all the help that you give everybody around you, and it shows. You're very blessed person. So,
Appreciate it, brother. Right back at you, man.
well, that's it, y'all. I appreciate you stopping in. Thanks, Craig, for joining us to share this journey with us. You have a great journey that you have, and I have no doubt you're going to be successful in continuing that journey. We talked about some barbecue tips. We talked about some favorite items that Craig likes to cook on. So yeah. Be sure to like this podcast, share this podcast, rate us as well, share us on social medias. Until next time, folks, thanks for chewing the fat with Craig and I. We'll see you. All right.